Hmm. You're welcome. Okay. Are we? Are we together? So, Miss Adasa, you can continue. Hello? Hello?
She's not on the call yet, ma'am. Maybe
Oh,
she's trying
okay.
to. You may need to maybe send a message.
Are we all in? Okay, we can continue. Is Miss Adasa in?
Okay. All right, welcome back. Can you all hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, so I was closing already. So I was just trying to say that emotional intelligence is not being feeble. As much as you want to try to get along with everybody at your workplace as a new employee, you know, there's this anxiety of how are they going to accept me? Am I going to be accepted in the team? And sometimes you might be tempted to even overdo because you just want to be accepted into the team. So you have to be very careful. Okay, and by being careful, I means you don't just take everything that is being thrown at you because you want to be accepted, because you want to show them that you are good or you're kind. You know, you have to be very, very careful. Emotional intelligence is not being feeble. You know, respect people, but make sure that you are respected as well. Okay, don't pretend you're okay. You're not, I mean, you're okay with what you're not okay with. You know, learn to speak up. And I personally always had another skill or element to the keys of emotional intelligence, and that's building a beautiful communication skill. You know, you have to learn how to communicate your needs. Okay, because sometimes people don't know how to treat you. You have to tell them how to treat you. I hope you can hear me. People sometimes don't really know how to treat you. So you are the one who have to tell them how to treat you. It's really very important. So you should be able to learn to communicate your needs. And another thing is learn to create a boundary. And by boundary, I mean, be careful what you talk about at your workplace. You know, that is also part of communication skill. You don't just partake in every gossip that is going about because you want to be friends with them. You have to be very sensitive. You have to be very careful. You don't partake in all the gossip at your workplace, you know. Create boundaries. Let people know for you who you are, you know, maintain your space. And like one of my superiors always say that nobody at work is your friend. And I'm sure that what they meant by this is face your business, okay? you'll be surprised that the person you think has your back is just fighting for their own self. And the truth is, the workplace is another political place. There are workplace politics everywhere. So the people you think are on your side may actually not be on your side. So you have to be very careful. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't respect others. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do what you're supposed to do. And then you should learn to appreciate and accept the individuality of everyone. And, you know, every time as you're stepping out, and I remember when I was learning how to drive then, the man teaching me how to drive said, as you're stepping out, you should act like you are the only sane person on the road, that every other person is crazy. So that will help you to navigate and to know how to avoid troubles or getting knocked down by other, you know, drivers on the road. And the same thing applies to emotional intelligence. You know, sometimes you just have to act like you're the only sane person, that every other person is crazy. You know that we're not saying they're crazy, but you know, if you don't think that way, you would just be backing, you know, responding to every dog that barks at you, because people will always be people. Humans will always be humans. Okay, so and that goes back to my personal definition of emotional intelligence, that it is the ability to remain human when you have every right to act like an animal. And that is the truth. You know, I remember my dad used to say then that there is a beast inside everyone, but you should just pray that you don't meet the person that will bring out that beast in you, because everyone has that other side. So, you know, if you already believe and you already know that, then it will help you to guide you on how to relate with people. You know when to step back, you know when to just let people go, you know, let things go. Sometimes you just have to let them win the argument. You know, sometimes you just have to let them have their way. It is not stupidity. So you should be able to learn how to create a balance. You know, sometimes, you know, create a balance between when to stand up for yourself and when to just let go. That is what emotional intelligence is simply teaching, especially at the workplace. So I wish everyone who is a new entry level employee good success in your career journey, and as many of those who are new entrepreneurs, you know, budding entrepreneurs, that you will do excellently well when you understand your customers, appreciate their individuality and know them. Yeah, let me quickly say this before I go. I hope I still have time. Okay, so I remember then that when I was working as a customer care representative with MTN, and I remember that I was always getting flagged because by nature, I am a no-nonsense person. And I remember I was always getting flagged then. And why? The truth is, I actually have, okay, go back to the definition again, that the right to act, to remain human, when you have a right to act like an animal. Now, I wouldn't say that I didn't even know anything about emotional intelligence then. So I would say that I was just being me. And that is one thing we have to be very careful about. You know, I've heard people said over time that you have to take me for who I am. This is who I am. You know, that is not a nice thing to say. Okay, who you are can be the rubbish version of you. Who you are can be the unemotional, intelligent version of you. Who you are can be a naive and ignorant version of you. So don't expect people to take you for who you are. You should take personal development seriously, and that means investing in yourself. And being emotional intelligent is one of the investments you can ever make. So, you know, then I was just being myself as a no-nonsense person. And truly, you know, there are some things that are actually supposed to actually get you angry. But when you're emotionally intelligent, you know how you're going to cut that and just overlook. And at other times, you know when to stand up for yourself, like I said earlier. Now, imagine being called by a customer. They called 180, used to be the MTN call center thing. Imagine a customer calling you and asking, what's the color of the pants you're wearing? Or asking you, what are you doing? I just want to gist. I don't have any complaints. You know, you have to work for God's sake, and you expect them to ask you intelligent questions that you can resolve and things like that. But unfortunately, you get otherwise. So, you know, I was always like, should I say that, react instead of responding? And I was always getting flagged. I was getting flagged until I actually started learning and reading about emotional intelligence. So what I'm trying to say is that there are situations that we feel we are always reacting, that is the best way to go about it now. But with emotional intelligence, you realize that such things doesn't even move you anymore, because you now know better ways of handling issues and resolving conflicts. And truly, if you know this, you even save yourself a whole lot of trouble. Many people are hypertensive today because they don't have emotional intelligence. Empathy is also very important, especially in this time and season. You must understand that people are going through a lot. So it's important to emotionally intelligent, especially for yourself, because you truly cannot save everybody, but at least you can save yourself. So once again, I wish you all the best, and I wish you all a great and amazing week. Thank you very much for having me, Mrs. Bampele.
Thank you, Miss Adasa. You have nailed everything on the, you've nailed everything. That's one of the things I can take from what you have said, showing empathy, when you are supposed to react, just calm yourself. Be aware of who you are. Be aware of your emotion. Mrs. Adeogo said something about self-awareness. Be aware of who you are. Then you'll be able to know what to do. You talked about assertiveness. Assertiveness does not mean that you are mumu. Assertiveness does not mean that you don't know what to do, you don't know what to say. Assertiveness is learning to say no when you're supposed to say no. Learning to say yes when you're supposed to say yes. That is what assertiveness means. Then self-regulation. She also talked about self-regulation. That is Mrs. Adeogo talked about self-regulation. Learn to get feedback. I just realized that so many people run away from feedback. Personally, I love feedback. There's nothing I will do, or there's no program I will put on, or something I will do that I will not ask somebody, how do you see? Please rate me. Because getting feedback does not mean people will negatively criticize you. Yes, even if they criticize you negatively, we can actually take those things and we can do a self-examination. Where did I go wrong? What have I done right? Or what did I do? What are the things I did that is not right? So evaluating, searching ourselves from inside. One of the things that Ms. Adasa mentioned that are very important, when we come back from work, after coming back from work, you are gone to work and you turn back home before you sleep in the night, try to take stock how your day went. Who did you, react to, or how did you talk to someone? Did you actually talk to someone in a nice way, in a polite way? Peradventure, maybe somebody asks you for something. Some people generally, because of we are wired differently, and because of our temperament, we are dealing with the various different types of temperament. We have choleric people, some people are choleric, some people are melancholy, some are phlegmatic, some are sanguine. So it's a mix. You are working with this mixed temperament. And it takes someone with emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is a skill. It's a skill that one should learn if you want to win with people, so that there won't be friction between you and people every now and then, especially in our place of work. And I want us to know that in our place of work, we spend most of our time in our place of work. Some of us do 9 to 5, while some of us do 7 to 2. It varies depending on the kind of work you do. Then business, for the people that are into entrepreneurship, how do you treat your customers? When customer order for something, what do you say to them? Can those customers come back again and say, I want to patronize you again? Thank you. What do you do? Do you say thank you? Do you even, before you can even go after them, ask them about the product? How do you see the product? Please recommend. So our this evolve around our social skills. Anyone that lacks social skills, that person may not be able to do well in place, in workplace, may not be able to thrive very well in workplace. And we need to do what we need to, imbibe, we need to learn, not only imbibe, we need to learn, we need to take, conscious efforts and begin to win with people, do the right thing we are supposed to do. Even when you feel that your boss is not acknowledging you, is not recognizing you, you keep developing yourself, keep at what you are doing, keep raising the bar, keep doing what you are supposed to do, and be the best. Just continue to be the best in everything you are doing, because one day they will actually send for you. One day, they will actually send for you. Your name will be remembered. Somebody somewhere will recommend you. They will say, I know Mrs. Adekemi. I know her. She will be good for this, for this position. And people, in your absence, people will be recommending you. It has happened to me, and I'm saying it with, because I have been a witness. I'm not there when somebody was recommending me for something, and that thing has really brought me to limelight in my career. So let's be conscious of who we are. Let's show empathy at workplace. Let's care. Let's make workplace a place where people can thrive. Not only that, lastly, I want to mention something. At workplace, it's not everybody. Workplace is not a family house. I just want to mention that. It's not a family house. Remember, you are all in a competitive, what's it called? Race. This one that you are thinking, this person got my back, this person, you don't be surprised, like Miss Adasa said. Don't be surprised, they are the one. They will be spiting you at the back, and you will not know. Or sometimes, if you are very sensitive in the spirit, you'll be able to know that, oh, this is not the person I should relate with. Fine, relate with everybody, greet everybody, be respectful, show them, that you are good. Not that you want to please everybody. I'm not saying you should be doing this at the detriment of your, of your work or of your own, what you don't feel like doing. Don't please people because you want to win their hearts. Don't do things because you want to please people. Don't be people pleaser. Stand. Let people know you for who you are, but let them know you for good things. Yes, you may be somebody that doesn't take shit, be somebody that doesn't take nonsense, but let me let you know that just stand for your right, stand for what is right, stand for righteousness, stand for what is good. Because one day, when they are choosing people that are of a reputable character, people that are competent, and then, with good character, your name will surely be mentioned. We all need emotional intelligence. Somebody out there in your place of work may be going through a lot. You just need to show, oh, how are you today? Just a smile. Do you know that your smile can, your smile can go a long way in making somebody, to feel welcome or to feel accepted. Your smile, the way you talk, your words, let your words be seasoned with grace. Let me just put that way. Let our words be seasoned with grace. When your colleagues can be somebody, yes, I have met people, my previous place of work, that are very close up till now. You can meet your best friend in your place of work where I've worked before. The person that best me, my best lady I met her at place of work. So you can actually make good friends. But I want to tell us that it's not every places. It's not in all cases that everybody can be your friend because you want people to like you. No, just do your work. Be excellent in everything you do and accept responsibility. Don't dodge away from responsibility. Be that person that you want to be and keep developing yourself. And I also want to talk about personal growth. Keep developing yourself. So now, without, I've said so much, without wasting much of our time, we'd like to go into Q&A section right now. So if anybody have any question to ask, we like to entertain questions and provide solution to those questions. So the floor is open. Let's ask questions, whatever may be bothering our mind. Let's ask questions. Let's feel free to ask questions. Our speaker, they are still much around, and let's ask questions. Thank you very much, Miss Adasa and Mrs. Adeogun. You've really done justice to that topic. The Lord continue to bless you more and more. So let's have questions from the audience. Hello. Hello. Let's have questions. Am I audible enough? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, ma. We can all hear you. Or I can hear you, at least.
Okay. Okay, so we are moving to questions. If you don't have questions, maybe I should also ask our speakers questions. Let me ask us some questions. Okay. Number one question, as people that just entry level people that are just newly employed or that just starting, what are the questions? Okay, what are the agitations? Newly employed, what are the agitations? Agitations of newly employed. I want to throw that one to Mrs. Adeogun. What are the agitations of newly employed?
Okay, ma. All right. So agitations of people who are newly employed. People who are newly employed are interested in knowing the ropes. I've just been hired. They're interested in knowing much more about their roles, and more importantly, the people around them. So as regards emotional intelligence, I think it's important to, once you're an entry level or you know, probably you just got newly employed to on a role, it's important to be socially aware. So of course, self-awareness, trying to understand yourself better and all that. However, be socially aware of your environment. Understand, for example, how your line heads prefers to work. We have some line heads who prefer you to send them emails. We have some line heads who prefer you to speak with them. We have some line heads who prefer a certain way. Some prefer a certain platform. Some would prefer you to send them WhatsApp only from, you know, they don't care the time. Some prefer calls, some emails. So if you start calling, if you leverage on calling voice call communication to a line head who prefers you to document every step emails, you're going to be having issues. So I'm just sharing that as an example. So you need to be aware of everyone that you work with. Now you're in this organization. So even your colleagues, what are their strengths? What are their areas of weaknesses? For some of the people you work with, for some of your colleagues, your strength will be weaknesses, all right? And you will find strength in those areas you will find strength in them in areas where you're weak. So it's important how you manage, you know, how you manage that, that approach. So
Okay.
that's one part that can help someone who is just getting in on a role. Also understand your culture, your organizational culture, how things are done. For example, is my time up?
Yes, but continue.
All right. Okay, understand the organizational culture. If you may not know what is organizational culture, is basically how this organization where you're working, every organization, imagine them as a personality. Okay, so there's a way they do things. There's a, for some, you can call people by their names. That's a first name culture environment. Even if that MD is 60 years old or old enough to be your dad or granddad, you call that person first name. For some environments, you don't dare do that, stuff like that. Even dressing, how do you dress? In some environments, you have a free way of dressing to work, as far as it's as far as it's presentable. In some organizations, you don't dress down, so those are things that you really need to be aware in terms of social.
Okay, thank you.
I'll stop.
All right, thank you very much. So my question to you, Ms. Adasa, how do you handle a difficult boss? For someone who is just, just newly employed and have this kind of a boss, how do you, what should he do, or what should he do?
Okay, well, we'll always come across difficult bosses at work. That is inevitable. You cannot escape that. Okay, except in some very rare cases. So my advice is, handling difficult boss involves, just stay calm and communicating openly. Then seek to understand their perspective, okay? And also finding common ground for resolution. Then another thing that I would pick from what Mrs. Adekemi just said now is that, understand them as well. Some people are really very difficult, but they are not, should I say they are not wicked? Let me put it that way. Just find alternative channels, because sometimes they are very difficult because they just feel you don't know the proper way to address them. You don't know the right time or the right way or the right manner. So it also involves approaching them, find alternative channels, find the one that is suitable to them, maybe such as email or scheduling a formal meeting, and at other times, you can also try as much as possible to, I would not say, because most of the time when we find ourselves in situations like that, we want to start to please them in every way, even when it's going to make us uncomfortable and when it's going to be taking a whole lot from us. I would advise that don't do that. Don't go out of your way, especially if it's going to affect you mentally, because most of the time they play on your mental health, and people like that, sometimes they don't care how you feel. All their own is just for you to get things done. So just try as much as possible to be calm, and you can also study them enough to know their good time, because I always tell people that no matter how bad, no matter how difficult someone is, they also have their good time. So may God help you to find out exactly, that period of time that you can easily approach them and get what you want. But most of all, just try as much as, because you'll be tempted to be resentful towards this kind of people. But try as much as possible not to be. I remember that I once came across somebody like that when I first finished my and every morning before leaving the house, I was always praying a special prayer just because of this particular boss of mine. And I would say that God really helped me. Before I left the organization, I know she was always calling me a daughter. And people were always like, hey, Adasa, what did you do? What did you use for this woman? It's like that. So no, really, it was really, in fact, it was so bad that at the point, anytime she sent for me that I should come to her office, like, I'll start shivering. It was that bad. But, I started praying. I was like, God has not given me the spirit of fear, but of boldness and of sound mind. And I noticed that one way that I was always scared. Nobody dares look into her face. But I realized that the more I prayed, because not really at a point I became resentful towards her, that I was eating her in my mind. What kind of person is it? I don't even care how people feel. But the more I prayed, the more I was liking her the more. And the man was liking her. The man was studying her to see how best to actually approach her. But I know in some cases, some of you may not be lucky. Some people are just, I don't know, they are just the way they are. Let me put it that way. Because like I said earlier, when I was talking about emotional intelligence, that when you get to a workplace, you must understand that there are people coming from different backgrounds, different religion beliefs, different cultural beliefs. You know, the
They're
same way
running
with
out
trauma.
of time.
The same way with trauma. Some people have experienced some kind of trauma that they don't even know is making them make life miserable for other people. Such people, you may not be able to help them. So you can just help yourself by knowing the best way to just approach them and just avoid them. That is all I can say. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. That was a very profound solution. Thank you. God bless you. And I want to say something. Lastly, how do you undo politics, workplace politics? How do you handle workplace politics? That goes to Ms. Adeogo. After that, we may round up because we don't have time, is not on our side. Mrs. Adeogo.
Okay. Okay, there's also a question on the chat area about boundaries, really. Okay, so I'll take this quickly. So handling politics at the workplace. So I mean, there's no yes or no answer to that. What I will just advise, like I tell employees, is always be at a place of advantage. You cannot tell how your organization will be. Stick to your role. Do your job well. You know, however, know the power players in your organization and understand how to communicate with them. You don't necessarily have to be involved in, you know, office politics. However, there are some power players that you need to understand. They are the ones that make the decisions, or they are the ones that facilitate the decisions at your workplace, you know, and they may be stakeholders directly or indirectly related to what you do. So just understand them and understand how to relate with them. That itself is also emotional intelligence. Don't just talk to everybody the same way, anyhow, based on maybe how intelligent you are, what you know is right. There's much more to life than that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lastly, I want to say something on information management. We must have ability to manage information. This is very key. It's not everybody that appear as a friend or as a good colleague that you can disseminate information to. When you have something, when something happened between you and someone in your place or work, either a colleague or your boss, be careful of who you talk to. If you talk carelessly, you will just realize that the same people you are downloading to, you know, you are giving this information to, they are the one that will go behind you and be telling people about what, you know, about what you have said. Then somebody is asking a question, how do you handle disputes between two colleagues? How do you handle disputes between two colleagues? Someone has that questions. Ms. Adasa, can you help us answer that question? Are you still here, Ms. Adasa?
Ma, there's also a question on boundaries. Maybe she should take both, or what do you think?
Okay, maybe you should take the two. How do you set boundaries? Then how do we handle dispute between two colleagues? The two questions. Please, let's be fast about it. We have just 6 minutes to go. 6 minutes to go.
Okay, there will always be conflicts, okay? It is inevitable. And conflict can be positive and negative at the same time. You know, there is a moving forward conflict at workplace, and there is a moving backward conflict. Let me put it that way. So, well, it's, you know, of course, self-awareness is really very important. So we have to go back to that. It's important to understand the individuality of each one of your colleague, okay? And try as much as possible not to take sides. It's really very, very important. Because most of the time, you know, when people try to resolve conflicts, they tend to take side of the person that is more likable to them. you have to be very, very careful and be very, very honest. Be a honest person. And try as much as possible to make each one of them understand maybe their shortcomings and ensure that they resolve it right in front of you. Like, make sure you don't resolve it in such a way that one person will feel better than the other one, or one person will feel like you are taking my side or she's on my side. You know, people do that unconsciously sometimes. So one has to be very, very careful. And if it is beyond what you can handle, I would just suggest you take it to a superior, okay, so that it can be properly resolved. But if you're in a place to resolve the conflict, make sure you don't take side. You have to be very, very careful. Then about creating boundary. It is very essential to maintain open communication, okay? And I always say that. But try as much as possible to set boundaries, because it involves knowing your job responsibility, then prioritize your task, communicating workload limitations, and respectfully declining additional responsibility when necessary. Remember, I mentioned it that emotional intelligence is not being feeble. The fact that you are emotionally intelligent does not mean you should be open to everybody that comes your way, or they should give you all the responsibilities in the whole work, and you want to prove to them that you are a good employee or you are a good colleague, and you are taking it. You will die before your time, honestly. And they will even be saying it behind you, see this one, Mumu, give everything to her, she will do it. So know what is really very important. It's really very important. If you don't set boundaries at work, you would take so many unnecessary. Okay, I remember a time, when I was newly employed then, at my first workplace, the same place that I spoke about earlier, I was employed as an administrative executive, and I was also asked to manage the reception then. So I remember one of my senior colleagues came, and she was like, I should go and buy food for her. At first, I was like, give me a minute, please. So I sat down and I thought about it, but this is not part of my designation. There are office assistants, that is their job. So, and deep inside me, I was like, Adasa, is this pride, or you are just like trying to create a boundary and do exactly what you're employed for? And I told her that, no, this is not pride. So I went back to her, I said, I'm sorry, would you want me to call one of the office assistants so that they can help you? And she said, why can't you go? I said, I'm sorry, that's not part of my job designation. And I could see a reaction. Then later, the human resource manager called me. I was like, I like what you did. That's usually people, they do that to people and they will just go. So I didn't know she actually went to report. And
60 seconds.
HR actually put her where she belongs. So since then, it stopped. I think she started telling other colleagues that, if you want to send anybody, don't send out to, don't send that, and things like that. So that is that. You just have to learn how to create boundary. I was always assisting with every other thing, but what I know is not within my job designation. No, I will not do it. I won't. So that is just it. Learn to create a healthy boundary, but don't make enemies for yourself at the same time. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's beautiful. Thank you very much. And I don't want us to, maybe we can also say, I don't know, questions are coming and we're about to wrap up. So we just have some minutes. Somebody is saying know when to say yes, like I said earlier, know when to say yes in a polite way without offending somebody. Okay, learning to say no, be assertive. That is assertiveness. Learning to know your right, and also let's also study what's it called, this book, organization, what's it called, organization, what book or what, the rules that guides your organization's work cultures. Yes, please, let's go through it. Let's endeavor to know what our rights as an employee, our rights when somebody is crossing their boundaries. Let's know what to do. And sometimes you confront it in a polite way, not in a confrontational way. I believe at this junction, we have come to the end of emotional intelligence at workplace. Yes, Staff handbook. Yes, that's what I wanted to remember. Thank you very much. Staff handbook. Let's go through that staff handbook. Let's know what is obtainable, what is expected of us, our rights, the do's and don'ts. So this will also be a guide, a guide to our journey in our career path, in our chosen career. I believe with this section, with this conversation, we've been able to learn one thing or